They're all in.
Howard, how aggressive will they be in the final seconds? Henderson can make a house call from anywhere. And look out! He just might do it! Travian Henderson gets my win it back for Ohio State. 75 yards. But it's close for Ewers. Pressure comes. Knocked it out and picks it up. Jack Sawyer headed down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
That was the dagger. Two big plays from the Cotton Bowl a few days ago. Texas losing 14-28 to the Ohio State Buckeyes. And that last play we just watched was, again, the dagger. The Texas was driving to tie the game. Sack, fumble, touchdown, game over. So we'll do some of our initial thoughts on the game. Again, close game. I think Texas surprised a lot of people with how well their defense played. Held Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka in check. Held the running game. Overall the numbers, when you look at the stats for Ohio State rushing, 24 for 81. Two long runs, one of 18, one of 22, but otherwise held running game in check for Ohio State. We thought that was a big part of the game. Texas was in it until less than 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. One big play, changed the game. Hell of a play by Jack Sawyer, beating Cam Williams on the edge. We'll get to that soon, but let's start with Justin. Justin was at the game. You want to maybe share some of the game environment and then your initial thoughts on it?
Yeah, that was exciting going up to the game. Driving there, bunch of Texas fans driving up from the Austin area to Arlington, despite it wasn't really treacherous driving by that time, but there was the worry of icy conditions. Getting there, going to a couple of bars ahead of time. Lots of mixed fans, actually. A lot of Ohio State fans. They showed out well. They're real nice there. Had a great time talking with a bunch of them about their expectations of the team and kind of where they're at. Nobody likes it when you bring up the fact that they lost to Michigan. Like doesn't matter that they are where they are. They hate it. It's kind of it's funny. It's kind of like us in the way we would feel about losing to Oklahoma or A&M, but I think it's a little magnified, honestly. Like, they cannot stand it whenever you bring up Sharon Moore, anything about the maize and blue. So that was interesting to kind of see that of like, hey, you guys have a chance to go win a championship and you're still worried about what happened a month ago, I think that hatred runs through their veins. We went and did a little, checked out the pre-party, I guess, ahead of the game. Shaq, a.k.a. DJ Diesel, was up there spinning the hits. That was a great time. And even getting into the game, I mean, the seats were filled early. And, a lot of folks there were just ready to watch a good game. I think everybody understood the magnitude. I don't know about you guys. I feel like whoever won that game is, like, if you don't go win the national championship by at least, 4 touchdowns, then you're doing us all a disfavor, because I just think you're going to outclass Notre Dame on a lot of levels. So I think a lot of people see what was riding on that game, and the excitement was there. The fans were there. Everything was – I felt very comfortable with the game going all the way to that drive. I kept looking at the people I was sitting with, the wife and friends, and I said, I think Texas is going to win this game. I think they're going to score right here. I think they can win this game. And I said it as confidently as I could have ever said it. And after, 2-3 plays later, we're down 14 points. I had no words at that point. It was pretty deflating. But all in all, glad we went. Not the result that we as Texas fans wanted, but still a hell of a game.
Yeah. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and eventually we'll get to acceptance. That was we've had some bad losses as Texas fans. We went through a really rough era. With the expectations as high as they were for this season, and to get to the position where you're able to make a play to potentially extend the game, win the game, whatever the case may be, and for it to be taken away from you just like that. at the snap of fingers, the snap of the ball, just one play. That sucks. That sucks. Was very emotional about it. It hurt to watch that game. It hurt to have the season end the way it did. I don't know what would have been a better way to end the season outside of just winning the national championship at this point in time. But that was rough. Like I told you guys earlier, I didn't sleep Friday night. My mind was totally invested into the game and replaying the game in my mind. I'm one of those people that something like this sits on me very, very heavily. Yesterday was like a cloud hanging over me all day. I feel better today, but there's so many different ways for me to process it. Number one, it sucks that you didn't go as far as you wanted to go, win the national championship. I think the second thing that hurts a lot is there's so many players on this team that I personally came to love watching, outside of just Quinn Ewers, but guys like Andrew Makuba, Jade Barron, Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton on the inside. You've got just ultimate team players like David Binda, who've been with the program for a long time, and you don't get to watch those guys play for the Texas Longhorns anymore. That really, really, really hurt me. Kelvin Banks, a guy that's been a starter since day one. And then, of course, you have some of the transfers that made impact plays throughout the year that you don't get to watch. And it's just like, I think what Michael Tapp said in his post game was so real. It was like, it sucks that we just don't get to play. This team doesn't get to exist anymore. This team doesn't get to play together anymore. And as a fan, just hearing that and, accepting that fact is hard because now, no matter what, we'll watch Texas Longhorns, we'll pull for them, we'll love the next team, but we don't get to see this team play anymore.
Yeah. I was just looking at some stat lines and whatnot. I think, maybe getting out of order here, but for opening drive, looked like it was going on script. Matthew Golden makes a one-handed catch on the sideline. It probably should have been called defensive pass interference.
Yeah.
But what a great catch. And then on 3rd and 4, Texas tries to run it. Run for 1 yard, sets up a 4th and 3, and just nobody was open. And that was the kind of feeling I had all night for the Texas offense. There wasn't many people open, and when there were a couple drops, or Quinn was off on a couple throws at times. But then the first drive by Ohio State, it's like they're just finding the zones and they just dink and dunk all the way down the field. I think talk about our pregame, take away the big play. Texas did a good job of that, and Ohio State said, okay, we'll just throw it, wherever, you guys are not. Texas was running zone pretty much that whole first drive by Ohio State, and it looked like it was going to be a long day. And then, a bunch of punts, Texas touchdown drive, the wheel route to Jaden Blue, that was a clear advantage. Both touchdowns were the same route by the running back. And then immediately following that is that screen play. And then
Right before halftime.
Right before halftime. So you had momentum going into half, less than 30 seconds left. They run a screen play. Texas actually wasn't blitzing, so a lot of people had said that, and I thought that initially. When you go back and look at it, when we played at the beginning of this, it was a simulated pressure, and Sark mentioned it in his press conference. They actually only rushed 4. I think there's just some bad angles and some good blocking by the Ohio State offensive line. Like, they were out there, and nobody was in front of them. So
it wasn't a blitz, but was Gilbo always supposed to rush then?
Yeah.
I think they dropped.
Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons backed in pressure.
Okay, so Gilbo is coming through, and he sees the running back and the lineman going that way, and he thinks it's still a good idea to go for the quarterback?
I looked at that. If he would just put his hands in the air,
just stay on the running back.
If he just puts his hand in the air, that ball's thrown right over his head.
I think he was blitzing.
That's why I said, but he said that it wasn't a blitz. And that's why I said, okay, so Gilbo was always supposed to be rushing.
Yes.
No, why was he so late? And why not?
It was a simulated. Yeah, they only rushed 4. Gilbo was one of the rushers. They dropped 2 other guys back.
Yeah.
So But yeah, questionable play call, and
I think just questionable. I think just questionable play by
yeah,
Bilbo. I don't. Yeah.
gotcha. So okay, we're start of the second half. First offensive possession by Ohio State, interception by David Benda, and then Texas punts and punt. Then Texas finds a way to score, tie it up, um, and then touchdown drive by Ohio State. Then we know what happens at the end of the game. So, talking about big plays here. So that screenplay we just talked over, and then so the plays before the uh, touchdown, the end of the game, the sack, fumble returned by Sawyer. Uh, Brett, what do you think about that second down goal line play?
Oh
First,
my
first
God.
and goal at the one, run it with Baby Rhino, no yards. And then what happened on second down? What did you see and what did you want to see?
Well, first and foremost, let's talk about how we got there. I think it was two defensive pass interferences in a row to get us to first and goal on the 1 yard line. And I mean, they were clear defensive pass interferences. Those guys couldn't hold on to Ryan Wingo. I think it was Ryan Wingo they were trying to throw to, and they just kept having to tackle him. So we get first and goal on the 1. It feels inevitable that we're going to be able to score. Good defense for sure. Ohio State is on the goal line. A lot of respect to him. Tip of the cap. But you run it up the middle, you get stopped. So what does Sark do? I guess he assumes that middle is just closed for business, and he tries to catch Ohio State sleeping and tries to do a pitch to the outside with a pin and pull block by Kelvin Banks and Juan Davis. Doesn't work. You know why? Because your safeties have their freaking heels on the goal line, and they can make a play like Caleb Downs did and just blow the freaking play up. So why do you think you're going to catch them off guard in that situation is beyond me, because obviously they're reading run, and obviously those safeties are targeting our running backs. And that play might make sense when Ben, you and I were talking about it before. That play might make sense when you're at the 50-yard line and you're trying to convert a fourth and 3, 4th and 2. We're trying to catch them outside, and those safeties are 10, 12 yards back or wherever they are. But in that situation, when you have their entire defense on the freaking goal line, how are you going to justify pitching it out like that and losing 7 yards to put yourself in an impossible 3rd and 8 and 4th and 8 situation where you can't block Jack Sawyer to save your life the entire game? It's just, I would have rather seen Arch Manning get a direct snap and try to run it in 4 times in a row. I think we might have even said that. Or do that same like little trick play that we did earlier with Arch Manning. Something like that. But my best versus your best, we're gonna run into the goal line. We're gonna get there somehow, and we're gonna freaking try to do some fancy dance like that. That was so frustrating. And obviously, we all know how it ended with that Jack Sawyer strip sack touchdown. So I don't know. I'm emotional about it.
So
Hey,
in the
let
moment,
me jump
Justin.
in.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead.
There is some speculation that Arch Manning had a concussion from that fourth down conversion earlier. So there's talk about it online, and I talked to my dad about it. He saw a source somewhere say that when Manning came back to the sideline, he didn't know what happened. So,
Really?
there could be a reason why we didn't see the 16 wheeler package. That was probably the perfect time for it.
Yeah.
So just FYI, there's potential that was happening where he had a concussion, and so like you said, running up the middle with Michigan and Penn State, I think both tried it on Ohio State. Penn State, I think twice, 4 downs, 4th and goal, run it 4 times, turnover on downs. Otherwise, Penn State probably beats Ohio State. So, all right, Justin, sorry to interrupt you.
No, I was going to say, because I haven't gone back and watched any replay of the game, so everything I'm going off is off of what you guys say or memory from that. So, because the play call is the play call, right? But we've seen Quinn audible out of play calls in the past. Do you think that Quinn should have seen that and said, hey, no, we need to get out of this? Or, like, because how would Sark know how the defense is going to line up that close to the line until they actually line up that close to the line? You know what I
I
mean?
mean, it's a goal line defense. It's always the same. They're always in that same formation. Like like at the goal line, you have to have like I get the 4th and 13 like audible and stuff like that when you're seeing different coverages and stuff like that. But I mean, at the goal line, I mean, you know what they're doing. You know what they're going to target. Like I don't think there's maybe there's an audible. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's like I need Sark to be his best and know what to call there. And if guess what, if you don't know, call timeout and figure it out.
Yeah.
Like that's what was so frustrating about it.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering, like, if he sees, oh man, all those guys are now on the line, like this play is going to get blown up, and maybe he'll learn in the future, whoever they'll be able to make that audible. But does it switch to a naked bootleg and you just trust Quinn to run to the right side and maybe you get him
run Quinn? Oh
Dude,
my gosh!
Hey, remember
maybe,
they did it?
maybe have tight end like kind of just trail out with him to where at least he has one option, right? Or you have one of the running backs. I don't know. Yeah,
If they can do it with Peyton Manning, remember that on the Broncos?
You remember that one? Yes.
Oh
exactly.
my gosh, that
Exactly.
actually
Forever.
Or
would
Matt
think-
Schaub.
I would have been a big.
I would have loved to seen a play action.
Dude,
Yeah,
that naked bootleg would have been awesome because if he's about to get lit up like Dicker the kicker
throw it
last
away.
night,
Oh,
just
I
throw it
saw that.
away. Yeah,
Exactly. That's I'm wondering, like in the moment on the line, if you see that, is that then because maybe Sark had already lost his chance to talk to him and say, hey, switch to this because of the 15-second countdown or whatever. But I don't know. Just trying to.
I guess my point is, in a goal line situation, your safeties are up, right? Your safeties are playing like on the goal line. In a non-goal line situation, they're back.
Yeah.
I just don't like the play call for any type of goal line defense.
Right.
Too many bodies.
yeah. So, arguably, again, one play, that second down call may be different, and Texas has a chance to tie the game, and who knows what happens, but. I think that's, as a Texas fan, it's what's frustrating is you felt like you had this in your grasp and you had a chance to tie the game with about 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Defense was played well, and then one simple mistake, and let's. Well, I guess we can talk about Cam Williams now. Did he even get a hand on Jack Sawyer? Also, he had a false start on the first drive of the game. Brett and I were talking offline, like he's supposedly projected to be a top 2 NFL draft pick. I don't see how that's happening. He's probably the most penalized offensive lineman in college football. Brett, I know
He's not NFL ready.
You're heated about this issue.
I'm heated about so much. Like, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like, I'm angry at the world right now. But okay, Cam Williams, like. Huge, and he's our biggest lineman by far. Obviously a tremendous asset, especially in the run game when healthy. If you're going to be a shell of yourself like you were, I'd rather see someone like Gooseby in there. Someone who's has the experience now. He's played in several games this year, and he's filled in an admirable way. I'd rather see him right off the bat in that game when Cam Williams came in. Yeah, Ben, you hit it. False start. Then run blocking, missing guys on the run blocks, and then got beat by Jack Sawyer. I mean, obviously on that one play, but I think multiple times throughout the game. Like, he was not good. He was not an upgrade from Gooseby. He was definitely a downgrade from him. And, I mean, it's just one more thing that just did not go right for us. And that game was him playing the whole time.
I just checked. This is on Twitter. Don't know the account if it's official or not, but Cam Williams 14 penalties. They said it led the NCAA out of all offensive linemen for the year. So yeah, he played some extra games, but I think going into the game he was maybe second in penalties. But yeah. Gooseby looked good against Clemson, and other times he's played in for either Banks. Yeah. He's played both left and right side of the line pretty well. So, kind of we're just disappointed in the offensive line in general, and that'll lead us into another segment here in a few minutes.
I'll just say one more thing on that. I thought it was really good. I saw somebody quote it. Jack Sawyer, NFL draft pick. Cam Williams, probably NFL draft pick because of his upside. Someone put a quote out there on that last play on the strip sack and said, this is the difference between one player being NFL ready and the other one not being NFL ready. Come back, Cam Williams. You need another year of development.
Could we blame injury at all for that? I mean, is Jack Sawyer just that good that, like, if Cam Williams is at his best, does he have a better chance?
Maybe, but why are you playing?
Yeah.
That's what I come back to. It's like if you're just a shell of yourself, if you're at 75%, Goosby's better than your 75%. You know, he's good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good player. In fact, I think they had the same pass blocking grade, or very close.
Was very
Pass
close.
blocking.
Run blocking is where Cam was much, much better.
Which makes sense. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know.
Okay. Justin, anything else you wanted to add? I got some highlight.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Justin predicted correctly Helm and Golden would outgame Smith and Ekbuka. So let's just do quick hats off to the Texas defense, then we can focus on the Texas offense. But Ekbuka, 5 catches for 51 yards. Jeremiah Smith, 1 for 3. So whatever Texas did to stop that guy, credit. You know, we held Ohio State to 3 touchdowns on offense. If we would have known that coming into the game, I think we all would have felt like we win this game. Big defensive play, defensive scores, special team scores always change the narrative when those happen. So Texas receiving led out of the backfield by Jaden Blue, 5 for 59, 2 touchdowns on wheel routes against linebackers. Would have loved to see more of that. Sorry, actually, Wisner had 6 catches for 42, most catches. Golden, 2 for 51. Gunner, 2 for 42. There was a drop by Isaiah Bond early in the game that was on a 3rd down. He had 1 catch for 8 yards. He really was a shell of himself since his injury.
Yeah.
And honestly, I kind of wonder if he's going to come back. Like, seems like this is I'm in a transfer scenario because I had a bad year and you know, I'm not getting enough targets, whatever. I'll be fine if he transfers. I remember he had a lot of drops at Alabama. When Texas beat Alabama 2 years ago, Isaiah Bond had a lot of drops, and maybe Alabama wins that game if they had receivers that could catch. I don't know if you guys remember that game at all, but it was very reminiscent of the Georgia team this year with drops. So I don't know if I want Isaiah Bond back, but you know, he is a speedster. He can be a weapon, but we got to see a lot more from that dude. And so we talk about wide receiver injuries and production. Brad, I wonder what Jonte Cook was thinking right now. You know, also we don't know the whole story, but it'd be nice to have a guy like that in the rotation when you have an Isaiah Bond that's struggling. But the transfer portal, you know, guys don't want to stick with teams anymore.
All right. We're getting all the heat out of me very quickly. Okay, so Sark, I mean, we talked about in the preseason podcast, Sark talks about a lot. He's like, hey, if you go to the destination you're trying to get to in this season, you're playing somewhere between 15, 16, 17 games, right? That is different than any other college football season ever. You have to have a lot of depth. I think he hit on this a lot, and he was directly responding to reporters asking about how much depth he has at wide receiver. And he's like, it's important for us to have this because you're going to need these guys. All right? And I get it. Jonte Cook was the up-and-coming guy. He's a true sophomore. He was the only freshman that got playing time last year. He was supposed to be the guy. They went and got Silas Bolden. They went and got Silas Bolden, Matthew Golden, and Isaiah Bond out of the transfer portal to backfill that wide receiver room. And at the start of the season, Jonte Cook's the backup to DeAndre Moore in the slot. So that probably didn't sit real well with him. But he had some breakout games, had a couple touchdowns, I think, against UTSA. And then halfway through the season, we get this alert that he's quit the team or he was dismissed by Sark because of conduct detrimental to the program. What happens right after that? This is probably mid-October, I want to say. Maybe early October, actually. Right after that, what happens? Isaiah Bond gets hurt. DeAndre Moore's out for a game or two. And then 2 nights ago, we saw Matthew Golden, our number 1 receiver, go down in the middle of the game. when we need the depth the most. It's like, what are you thinking as I mean, I get it, you're a 19-year-old kid, but what do you gain by quitting the team and being that kind of person? Why not stick around, become a national championship, or push your team to become a national championship? If you are going to transfer, fine, transfer. But you're telling me you're not going to get better being part of this team for those last few months and actually having an opportunity to come in. Had he stuck around with the program, I mean, literally the next game after he was dismissed from the program is when we started having injuries at the wide receiver position. He could have been a 10-touchdown guy easily. Because he's that explosive playmaker on the outside that can go to the outside and make plays. Matthew Golden goes down. Isaiah Bond goes down. DeAndre Moore goes down. There's touches there that were up for grabs, and we needed it the most 2 nights ago in this game. With Matthew Golden down, Isaiah Bond not really being himself, we needed that go-to wide receiver, and he wasn't there. He could have been there. He could have made a name for himself. He could have increased his draft stock, his transfer portal stock, whatever you want to call it, but he quit the team. I think it just goes back to show that, yeah, you need a lot of depth, and that, there's a lot more. These guys can't be so short-sighted on just this me approach. You have to understand that when your name gets called, there's going to be opportunities for you. And I think he missed out on it, and, whatever. Go to Washington, go be, a B player there or whatever. But I'm beyond pissed about it. Because Sark called it at the beginning of the season. When we needed him, he wasn't there.
Yep. No, I agree. And I think that there's definitely a lot more behind the scenes that we don't know about.
Sure.
With why he was dismissed. And in regard to the depth, not having him there, that sucks. But I think the team was better, if that makes sense.
I agree. Sark dismissed him for a reason.
Right.
Yeah. But the fact that you were who you were to get dismissed from the team and being a me person.
I think that's more of a
the point is the point I think is, depth is important. And the transfer portal maybe ruins this, loyalty and, wanting to stay on the team. Maybe I don't know how many games we had been through at that time, but maybe he technically gets a red shirt if he doesn't play again. So, but, anyway, it's just disappointing that we felt like we could have used him here in this scenario in a semifinal playoff game. Is he going to get a chance to play in the semifinal playoff game with Washington? They had a pretty historic year to get there with Penix, and that team, that was a special year. Like, I don't think anyone's predicting Washington to make a college football playoff in the next 5 years again. So, but hey, you get playing time. You want to play for middle of the Big Ten. Kudos to you. Texas penalties this game, actually not too bad. 5 for 54 yards. I'll take that all day compared to previous games. There was one big one by Gunnar Helm, where he pointed at Caleb Downs. I thought it was kind of a weak call. Like, maybe if he did the horns down gesture, he would have got kicked out of the game. If another team did that. Did that lead to a punt on that drive?
No, I think they scored a touchdown still.
Okay, so regardless, overcame it. I don't know.
No. That was the same drive where we got stopped on the goal line.
Okay, so that was we got to the 25-yard line and then got pushed back to the 40.
Past the penalty yardage and had a chance, just didn't make it happen.
And the play after that, okay, we can get into Quinn now. The play after that penalty, so that pushed us back. Luckily, it was still 1st and 10, so I kind of, instead of being 1st and 25 after the penalty. So at the Ohio State 40, what does Quinn do? Matthew Golden, 27 yards. So we just get pushed back. The guy, I felt like, responded when he needed to all game. My only complaint with Quinn is pocket awareness. I think the first 2 drives, he just steps up right into sacks. There was a good run that he had in the game, but he is not very, mobile. I think that hurts a team in college football. I was trying to think, what's the last quarterback, and maybe it's more recent than, Greg McElroy was the last pocket passing quarterback to win a national championship, maybe. Um, like, who was, I'm trying to think back years
I mean,
past. Matt
Tua,
Leinart.
Tua
Okay.
was not really, a, he's not a dual threat guy by any
But
means.
how many NFL receivers was he throwing to?
Well,
And
sorry, you were talking about pocket passers, so
I'm just saying,
I
like,
was just trying to help
yeah.
you out there.
Okay, so one. So one in the last few years. Okay.
Well,
I think in college football you need a mobile quarterback, and I think Quinn's a great pocket passer, has great touch.
I think
Um,
I'll also say, yeah, last year, the two, Michigan versus Washington, those two were pretty much pocket passers. But
JJ
yes,
McCarthy's pretty mobile.
the ability, you can be a pocket passer. You need the ability to run.
yeah,
Like Bryce Young
that's
against
fair.
us in
Remember
20.
Michael Penix ran all over us. Like we could not sack him
Yeah,
at
he was
all when
fast.
Texas
He was
played him
definitely a
last year.
pocket passer, but he was fast. Quinn is not fast.
For sure.
But anyway, y'all want to talk about Quinn? Other than that, some of those sacks. I'm not blaming him for the one that at the end of the game, and then the interception after that. He's what can you do at that point? You're down 2 touchdowns with 2 minutes left. You kind of got to force it. So
Right.
he overthrew it a little bit. Caleb Downs, great safety, made the pick, closed the game. Glad he kind of took a knee instead of trying to rub it in. So
Yep.
classy guy, Caleb Downs. But yeah, Justin, what do you think about Quinn's performance here?
I don't think the reason Texas lost was because of Quinn. I thought he did pretty damn good. I mean, he drove the field against the best team and the best defense in the nation 3 legit times. And yeah, we came up short on one of them for sure, right? Because that was it. We had 2 scores, and I'm not misremembering this, right? We had 2 scores and then the one sack fumble, but otherwise we didn't attempt any field goals. We didn't like get stopped at the goal line at any point that I'm seeing, like a turnover on downs or anything, except for the first drive, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was punts or touchdowns. So, man, I think Quinn played just fine. I hate that he's going to just be remembered for. I think a lot of people are blowing out of proportion what they think Quinn is versus what he actually was. I think he was a much better quarterback for the team than what he's going to get credit for, unfortunately. And because of some of these goofy fumbles or like the game against Georgia where he has 3 or 2 tipped interceptions, whatever it is, like he's going to be more remembered for that versus about the throw that he did make on 4th and 13, right?
Yeah.
And the way he ended the Arizona State game, and even against Ohio State, like I don't think he was bad. There's a couple of big plays that sure you can blame, but what about the defense and letting a 75-yard touchdown go at the end of the first half, right? Like,
Yeah.
I just think that Quinn played better than what he's going to get credit for, and it's a shame that I hope he goes to the NFL. If he goes college, I hope we don't have to face him. But, I mean, at the end of the day, Quinn was statistically one of the better quarterbacks we've seen, but I think to the eyeball, that's where, you watch him, you're like, well, he got it done, but he didn't do it the way that I wanted it to look. And that's what people are going to be stuck on. And I just don't agree with that. I think Quinn was awesome.
I'm with you. Quinn does not get the respect that he really deserves. I mean, he's one of the greatest Texas quarterbacks of all time, as far as his career goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, Ben. You hit some of his stats as like all-time leaderboard stats a few weeks ago, I think. But I mean, he's in the top 5 of most of the significant quarterback stats at this point in time. Yeah, I really thought Quinn had a great game. He made some throws, some outstanding throws. That first touchdown to Jaden Blue was absolutely perfect.
Yep.
The second one was easy; it was wide open. But the first one was absolutely perfect. He threw. I mean, he let a couple get like the one that Gunnar Helm got knocked down on the non-targeting call. Like he airmailed that one. So he had some missed throws in there, but he outdueled Will Howard. He was the better quarterback between the two of them. Will Howard doesn't have near the stats that he has without that 75-yard screen pass, right?
Yep.
Can't really give him too much credit for 75-yard screen pass. And Quinn had no backing from the run game.
Mm-hmm.
2 games in a row where Quinn is just like a defense knows that Quinn's just going to try to throw the ball, and he's still able to do it successfully. to the detriment of getting down to the goal line when you clearly can't establish the run game down there either. Yeah, man, Quinn had an outstanding game outside of that one interception at the very end when he was trying to force it, and he needed to. He had to. He had no other choice. He had to throw it downfield. They were dropping safeties everywhere.
Right.
He led the team on that on several drives to get down to the red zone. He looked really, really good. Like you said, we get backed up on a gunner helm personal foul, and what does Quinn do? 27-yard pass to Matthew Golden, on one of those deep out routes. Just a pretty ball. Quinn, yeah, I mean, and then how about that run that Quinn had for the first, or almost a first down? I think we brought in Arch to get the first down right after.
That
but just
9-yard
kind of
run. Yeah.
So, he was just left everything out there. There was this awesome video, not awesome because it made me sad, but there was this video of Quinn walking off the field and just like turning around and like looking back at the Cotton Bowl like one more time. Pulled on my heartstrings a little bit to see that and to think that he's not going to be our quarterback anymore. The Quinn era was an awesome era. Justin, to that point, it's like he's going to be remembered for some of the other things. Think about the era of college football we were in before Quinn, and think about the place that he brought us to. I mean, even Sam Ehlinger, who was a great quarterback for Texas, like his biggest accolade ever was beating Georgia in the Sugar Bowl.
Right.
And that was it. That was literally it. I mean, yeah, he beat Kyler Murray once, I guess, in the Red River Shootout, but outside of that, think about the games that Quinn brought us to. We got to play in the SEC championship this year. We got to beat our rival in A&M for the first time in 15 years at their place. We beat OU twice under Quinn. So Quinn's 2-1 against OU, I think. And then won the Big 12 championship last year. First CFP playoff berth last year. Brought us within one play of going to the national championship. And then this year, it's the same thing. He's an outstanding quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. The team just overall and some of the play calling just fell short at the very end. But Quinn should be remembered for where these opportunities they brought us to, because we haven't had them in a very, very long time.
Yep. Agreed. And I was talking to somebody else about this, and I know it's true in other schools as well. And we're talking about Texas here, so that's where I'm going to go with it. It seems like unless you are an otherworldly, like iconic college football quarterback for Texas, the most popular guy on the team is always the backup quarterback amongst the fans, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, can we stop? Like, again, we talked about this, like the unnecessary pressure that I feel like the fans are putting on or put on Quinn throughout the season just because Arch is back there and they got a glimpse of him. And don't get me wrong, Arch has a chance to be phenomenal, and I'm looking forward to the Arch era. But like, why are you worried so much about what next year is going to be like when you've got what you've got in front of you right now? Like, be grateful for it. And I think that a lot of that rhetoric really just kind of, I don't know. If I was Quinn, he won't say this, but if I was Quinn, he probably has a little bit of just sour taste in his mouth from how things went in regard to like the outside pressure on him. And it's like,
I hate that.
It should never be like that. But
it's from casual fans too. It's not from the diehard fans. Like when I talk to people at work that like kind of watch Texas football, maybe they went to UT and they just lightly follow it and keep up with the scores and maybe watch a little bit. They're always like, man, I really think Arch is going to be the guy this year. And I'm like, what, are you living under a rock? Like, do you not pay attention? Like,
right.
I do think it is from the casuals, because I think people who watch Texas football realize like there is a development process that's ongoing, and be grateful for the pipeline of quarterbacks that this Texas team is going to have over the next few years. Don't sit there and try to rush to the next guy just because one of them has a rough game. Come on.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, let's touch on the running game real quick. I guess I'll take out Quinn's negative 18 yards. So Texas had 76 yards rushing. Wisner, 17 for 46, average 2.7. Blue, 4 for 16, average 4 yards per rush. And Gibson had 1 carry for 0 yards. So our two top running backs, 21 carries, 62 yards. Not great. I feel like the inability to run the ball again kind of hurt Texas and forced some third and longs that just made third down harder for the team. And like the first drive, it looks like we were moving the ball again. Third and 4, we get 1 yard. 4th and 3, everybody's covered. Quinn just kind of throws at the feet of Moore. So, I think when we get into, 2025 talk, hopefully there's an emphasis on improving the run game and the run blocking schemes. But, Brett, what's your thought on the run game? Like, again, you feel like every time we play one of these physical teams, we struggle to run the ball effectively.
Well, every team that we've played in the college football playoff and, Georgia and all these excellent teams, the one difference that they have is they have tremendous talent in their backfield compared to Texas. And I'm not trying to knock Trey Wisner. I think Trey Wisner made a valiant effort this year. But keep in mind, he's a 3-star recruit out of DeSoto. He's, a special teams like stalwart kind of guy. He's an all-team guy, and he got put in a position to be the starting running back this year. Nobody would have predicted that going into fall camp, right? I think next year and the year after, Trey Wisner's still, like, if you have all the depth that you want, he's not your feature back. So it's really unfortunate that we got to this situation where he was that, because he's just not that guy that can really break those tackles. He's not, like, I watched, was it Judkins? Judkins was Ohio State's, like, big running back. Did you see him in the goal line? I mean, he just ran through our line when they made contact with him. I mean, didn't affect him at all. And he weighs 210 pounds or whatever. We try to do the same thing with Trey Wisner or Jarrett Gibson. They might weigh 190 pounds soaking wet. It's a completely different outcome.
Yeah.
How much did the C.J. Baxter injury impact this season for us? I mean, obviously we'll never know, but I think probably more than we really remember. Yeah. If we had C.J. Baxter back there on that 1st and goal, do we score a touchdown? I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe we do. I mean, C.J. Baxter, I looked at his this is sad. I looked through the entire roster, the Texas roster, and just kind of looked through all the players that I'm going to miss the most yesterday as I was writing sad songs for myself. But I looked at C.J. Baxter on there, and C.J. Baxter, I think he was listed at 220, 225, something like that. Different.
Yep.
That's different. So, yeah, very frustrating. We talked about how Quinn had to basically, be the offense because we couldn't get a run game going. But it would have been really nice to have one of those, a true power back. And I hope Sark is realizing that C.J. Baxter might not be himself next year. So you might need to go get a backup that is going to be a big body that can actually, run between the tackles a lot better than we did this year.
I think you'll see Michael Terry at running back to be that other power back. I think, and I was talking with this about the folks I watched the game with, was Texas never missed or has never missed having a big back before like they did this year.
Yeah.
And I think that you'll see Sark will never only have one guy that can do that in the future. He'll always make sure he has 2. And I think Michael Terry is the exact person you're talking about of like, oh, he's going to be that guy. Got it.
Yeah.
Because he's 6'3", 225 as a freshman. Yeah. He's going to be hopefully awesome. But
yeah. So for those that don't know, Michael Terry, 5-star recruit out of San Antonio, played all positions in high school. Kind of seen that he was going to get a first shot at wide receiver, but I love that idea of him playing in that big back running back role. Yeah. Hey, did y'all know that he's actually part of the scout team for these past 2 CFP? Yeah. Him, Justice Terry, and Landon Jackson were the 3 early enrollees that were actually part of the scout teams for the past 2 CFP games. Just a fun thing.
Yeah, that sounds good. 6'3", 217. Yeah, Judkins looked unstoppable. I text you guys during the game. Like, I don't know why he only got 9 carries. He averaged 4 yards carry, 2 touchdowns. He was playing physical too. He lit up Gilbo on he blocked for Henderson on a run to the outside, and he he put Gilbo on his butt.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was like he kind of set the tone, I think, on the first drive for Ohio State. And I feel like they out physical Texas a lot of the game. But yeah, it'll be nice to have a big body running back next season, a healthy running back room. Maybe that's the difference. Um, I think we can skip over to talking about the defense. I think we all saw Texas defense played pretty well. Justin mentioned Will Howard, didn't look great. Take away the 75-yard screen pass, and he throws for about 212 yards. 24 for 33. I think we sacked him twice. He had 4 yards total rushing. He had one scamper where he tripped on his own feet, and then he joked that he fell on purpose in the post-game press conference. What a great play call that was, and they end up scoring a touchdown anyway. So, but I felt like you said, Justin Quinn was a better quarterback, so the defense did great, held the receivers in check, limited to two big plays. We talked about in the pregame. Texas. Brett mentioned it. This is his stat. Texas was number 1 against explosive plays, 20 yards or more. There were 2 in the game. The 75-yard screen pass, and then there was a 22-yard run by Henderson. No other plays by Ohio State over 20 yards. So Texas did what they were supposed to do, limiting big plays. So hats off to the defense.
One play. Oh,
one play.
Such a bad time, too.
So last kind of thing, maybe this is the next talk is does Sark retire play calling duties after what a lot of what we've talked about, some the red zone play call that puts you to second and long, or third and long, and just kind of the inability to move the ball for much of the game. 3 scoring drives, really, you only score on 2 of them. So with the talent Texas has, is it execution? Is it play calling? Should we get an offensive coordinator next year and let Sark just head coach manage the team? Brett, what's your take?
Yeah. I think as far as offensive minds go, Sark's one of the best. His opening scripts for these games is outstanding. We saw it time and time again, especially the second half of this season, where the offense struggled in the second half to get anything going. How much of that is execution versus play calling? I don't know. Probably a good combination of both, a healthy combination of both. But I think some of those goal line calls in this game really show just a inability to make the right call. I would like to see Sark bring on someone to be the play caller during game. Like I said, I like Sark as the guy that's kind of coming up with that opening script, working with the quarterback, working with an offensive coordinator to come up with that. But when it comes to the second half, I think it's important for Sark to focus on the big game stuff, when to call timeouts, making adjustments for certain things, all the other things that coaches do during the game as far as adjustments go, but having somebody in the press box that's sitting there and actively analyzing the defensive looks and making plays that are in response to those looks. I think it's just too much on Sark in that second half for him to have to do both those things, all those things, I should say. So yeah, I'm for Sark bringing on somebody. Now, had Sark had an outstanding offensive year where we're scoring points throughout the games, and it was one of these high-flying, explosive offense that we saw when he was the offensive coordinator at Alabama, I would close my mouth on this. I don't think that would be the case, but we didn't see that. We saw very few points scored in the second half of these games, and I think it would help him if he did a little self-evaluation to say, hey, maybe I need to share some of these responsibilities.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to say I think we're crazy if we think Sark's going to have somebody come in and take over his play calling. I could be totally wrong on that, but I just don't see it happening. He's got a lot of pride in it. I think he does a lot of work to do it. He could use maybe a guy to help him, maybe make sure one of the analysts is helping specifically with the in-game adjustments a little bit better, but I don't see him ever giving up play calling duties. I also think, especially in the red zone, we talked about it already, and we'll beat the dead horse. Is like, dude, you need a run game. You need a big back. So get a big back in there, and I think the red zone offense looks totally different. And I'll just leave that at that. I think that if you want to specifically focus in on the red zone, I think no running game, no power back to be able to help with that is a massive reason why they couldn't score in there. In between the 20s, I didn't think that they were bad this year personally. It was short yardage in red zone, and get Sark the proper bodies to run those plays that he wants to run, I think you're fine. But him trying to adjust to the bodies he had, I think he did his best. And I think everybody knew, like, they can't run the ball on us, just clog the middle. And then, secondary guys, just stay on your man, right? We know that they're going to go for Golden, Moore, or Helm. That was like literally the only three real red zone threats that we had. Wingo in the preseason, in the spring game looked like he was going to be that guy, but he really wasn't that guy in the season. Like, they tried throwing jump balls to him, kind of A.D. Mitchell style, and it just never really panned out for him. Give him a year more of development and all that over the spring and the summer. I think he can be that guy, but I just think that I think it was more personnel than it was play calling for me.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Anything else you guys want to finish up on, and then we can make our picks for the championship game?
Thank you. It was a hell of a good season from the Texas team. I'm happy I was there to be able to cheer them on for as many games as we went to. I think that was a record for me for how many games I went to in a season. And I mean, hats off to all the seniors and juniors and anybody else transferring out or going pro, whatever the case is. It's sad to watch this team go, but I'm happy we got to watch them. So
Yeah, I'll echo that. I mean, appreciate what we had. This was a year that was so much fun to watch, so much drama throughout the year. An exciting team led by a bunch of really good people, not just athletes, but really good people. It's sad to watch them go, but some of the memories from this year will never be forgotten. The 4th and 13 play by Quinn and Matthew Golden, plays like that and moments like that will be remembered. So it was a fun season.
All right, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I don't know when the game is. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it. I have no interest in this game, but I think Ohio State will win. Honestly, Notre Dame's defense is, I don't know, up there. I don't know if they're as good as Texas. I don't know who they've played besides A&M. I think Texas defense shut A&M out, and they let what's his face, Houston transfer quarterback, score some points on him.
Connor Wigman.
I think Ohio State wins. It's probably close early, and I think Ohio State wins by 3 touchdowns.
yeah, I'm with you. If Ohio State doesn't win by at least 28, I think that you give the title to Notre Dame. And I don't want either one of these teams to win it, but I'll definitely be cheering for Notre Dame. I hope Notre Dame pulls it off somehow, some way. Maybe Rudy gets in there. But I got a feeling Ohio State should win.
Yeah. Obviously, Ohio State's 9.5-point favorites in this game. If they lose, it's because they were looking past probably getting ready for the next time they have to play Texas, which is the first game of the season next year. No, I think Ohio State, unless they really get caught sleeping, wins that game. And I want them to win that game because guess what? I want to go in and I want to ruin this national championship for them as quickly as possible and go into the horseshoe and kick their ass next year in front of all their fans. You're hearing it first. Texas gets to play Ohio State two times in a row, and I would love for them to have that national championship banner. They're celebrating with all their fans, and we go in there just like we did to the national champions this year in Michigan.
That's right.
And beat them in their own house and go ahead and take that banner down.
And let's plant a flag in the middle of the field if we can as well.
Yeah. Unless they make it illegal.
Well, I don't think they did. So
Not yet.
we need to, before they do, Jack Sawyer won't be there, and we know Ryan Day was just going to watch whatever happens anyway. So this has been fun, guys. We'll do future podcasts, kind of go back and look at our initial recap and talk about players returning in 2025. Rumor Michael Taff might have one more year eligibility. Matthew Golden's a junior. Maybe by then we'll know what Quinn's decision is. We don't think he's coming back, but is he going to get $6 million in college, or is he going to go pro and get drafted in the second round by the Raiders? We'll see. We'll talk on some of those things as they develop, but it's been fun. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, boys. Unfiltered, a little biased, 100% truthful. 41st Acre, we're out.
Hook 'em.